Leave her with the sirens. She thinks we've come so far. Leave her with no silence. She's faking brighter than the stars.
She's faking brighter than the stars.
Now I know she was misunderstood. Now I know she moved around like dangerous goods. Now I know she was meant to run straight from the barrel of a gun. Deep breath, run.
Deep breath, run, run.
No, 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 deep breath, run.
Deep run, run.
No, deep breath, run.
Deep run, run.
High above the rooftops, right where the noise stops, and right where the light begins. It's never worth it, it's never worth it.
I'm a young woman, 18 years old. I was walking in Seattle right next to Pike Place when a man who appeared to be in his 60s or 70s came up to me, cornered me against the wall. He kept telling me I was beautiful and asking where I lived. After he asked me questions, he grabbed my hands and pulled me closer to him and tried to kiss me multiple times. The worst part was that I was in such a crowded place, it felt like I should have been safer, but no one tried to stop what was happening, and a few people were actively looking away.
I was sitting at home, Snapchatting this guy from one of my classes. We were talking about wine and sending pictures and videos of us talking back and forth. There was no discussion of a sexual nature whatsoever. He wasn't wearing a shirt eventually. I figured he was getting ready for bed or something. Then he started touching himself and masturbating in a video that he sent me. I was shocked and didn't reply. I kept thinking, did he really just sexualize my face? He deleted me on Snapchat the next day. I hope he never does it again, considering he has quite a public role at SPU and that behavior is never okay.
The perpetrator was the first person I ever really liked as a person. He took advantage of my trust in him. I actually said no twice to his advances before he assaulted me.
I was assaulted last school year in Emerson by someone I was seeing. We were fooling around and it got to a point where I was uncomfortable, so I asked him to stop. He respectfully agreed at the time, but a few minutes later he proceeded to continue groping my bare chest despite me explaining how uncomfortable I was with that. I only just recognized it as assault at the start of the school year and reported it to OSS.
For a long time, I didn't know that what I experienced was rape because of the stigma surrounding it. I always thought of rape as some creepy guy in the bushes that would jump out and rip off a girl's clothes. My rapist was my boyfriend, and someone that I considered myself to be safe with. Over a period of 10 months, he pressured me to go further and further sexually, and every time I felt bad for saying no. I cried while he forced himself on me, not because I thought he was raping me, but because I was so anxious and wanted it to be a good experience for him, but knew it couldn't be because I didn't want it. It took me over a year to understand that what happened to me was sexual abuse, and 3 years to be able to talk about it as rape.
One of my childhood friends was in the other room, but I don't know what she was doing or why she didn't hear or didn't stop it. I had known him for a few months and thought I was safe. He grabbed me and beat me and pinned me down and began raping me. I screamed and cried and kicked and punched and got free, and he chased me and tackled me and held my face in the carpet and continued. He left me crying on the floor when he was done. This happened 5 years ago yesterday.
When my ex-boyfriend and I broke up, he started to cry and demanded that I stay with him, that he needed some explicit sexual favors. After I refused, he shoved me down and basically dragged me into the bedroom and locked me in. All I remember is crying while it happened, crying and wishing that I could die right there and then. Even now, I can't think about it without crying. After it was finished, he made a remark about me being a slut and a whore and that I didn't deserve for him to fuck me. It was the worst day of my life and I still haven't completely recovered. I haven't even told my parents what happened because too often rape victims are said to make false accusations and not be taken seriously. The only person who knows is my significant other, who has supported me through all of my residual mental health issues.
I was at my boyfriend's friend's house party. We were taking a trip to her city and decided to stop by at her house party. Before we started dating, I was sexually assaulted by him and I didn't even know it. I was confused and uneducated. When we actually got into a relationship, he raped me. After it happened, I didn't tell anyone. I ignored the facts and kept it to myself. A year later, when the topic of gray rape came up in a class that I was taking, it all sounded too familiar. I had a panic attack. Everything went silent for a moment. I couldn't breathe. I was in shock. I'd been in denial to survive. But when I realized what had been done to me, I hated my body. I was too drunk to remember anything from that night. He had sexual intercourse with me. It sickens me to imagine my limp body, half asleep, being penetrated by my own boyfriend. Boyfriends are supposed to take care of you when you're blacked out drunk. They're never supposed to have sex with you, and there's no way in hell you can say yes. For the longest time, I was confused, but now I know the definite answer. Yes, your boyfriend can rape you. It's a devastating reality. I always thought it wouldn't be me, but it is. This is something I have to live with for the rest of my life, and I know it doesn't define me. I was a victim, and this isn't my fault.
A guy I had known for a while asked me to come over to his house for a party. I had a boyfriend at the time and felt weird that he wasn't invited, but just shook it off because he was older. I drove to the guy's house where he greeted me at the gate and walked me into an RV. He locked the door behind me and there was nobody inside. I started to panic. He said some people would come later, so he motioned for me to sit on his bed. He started showing me things in his room. He turned on the TV and then pulled out a knife and calmly showed it to me. He set it on his bedside table and sat down for a second. He tried to touch me, but I pushed him away. He pushed my shoulder down and forced me so that I was face down on the bed. He pulled my pants down and raped me. All I could say was, "What are you doing?" over and over again. I was stunned and in shock. It was one of the most physically painful things I endured. He flipped me over and watched me cry. He then pulled up both of our pants while I sat there blankly. He then ushered me out. I went home, threw up, cleaned myself out, and took my clothes off. I thought it was my fault for not saying no, for going there even though I thought it was weird. I hope my story can help those who are struggling with the guilt associated with sexual assault, as well as the PTSD and depression that may come with it.